Well, let's go now to this Friday's Focus report, which takes us to Egypt, where Pope Francis has landed for a 2-day visit. Now, the pontiff's trip comes at a particularly tense time for Egypt's Coptic Christians, one of the world's oldest Christian communities. It has been subject to sectarian violence since the 1980s and is currently the target of deadly attacks claimed by the Egyptian branch of the Islamic State group based in North Sinai. Despite ongoing military operations that began in September 2013, the jihadist group has expanded its territory and has recently designated Egypt's Copts as their primary target. Our correspondents sent us this report.
Port Said, the last town on the Suez Canal before the Mediterranean Sea. Tens of Christian families have come here to flee violence committed by the Islamic State group. Moheb Kadri is one of them. He has sought shelter in this church with Ikram, his wife, and his 2 little girls. They left everything behind them.
This is everything we've managed to carry along with us, as my wife is pregnant, and we had to look after our children who were with us. We couldn't take anything more. And it was already far too much and far too heavy to carry.
They are now clean and safe, far from their home in North Sinai, but still traumatized by the months of terror that the Islamic State group has caused them.
Back in our hometown, the terrorists can move about at will. They can conduct operations as if there were no police, as if they were right at home, as if it was their very own country. They often entered the houses of Christians to kill them. They even carried out 9 operations in one single week. They threatened Christians. They drew up lists of all the Christians in town.
Coptic Christians represent 10% of the Egyptian population. Things have worsened for them in recent weeks, since the Islamic State group designated them as their primary target. The violence is now extending far beyond the borders of North Sinai. In Alexandria, the Abdul Malik family are dealing with the loss of one of their own. He was killed in the attack on St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church earlier this month. His aunt remembers the attack and is trying to get back to a normal life.
We were attending Mass when suddenly there was a noise, a very loud noise, and everything went blurry. I couldn't see anyone. After a few seconds, I saw my nephew Bishoy had been thrown to the ground. But I won't stop going to church. Even if they blow up all the churches, I'll go and pray in the mosques. And if they blow up the mosques, I'll go and pray in the street.
In this family home, all cry for the departed. Bishoy's mother lost her youngest son.
I'm angry because there should have been more security around the church. I'm angry because we should feel more secure. We live in a country where we don't feel protected.
Following the attacks, the government declared a state of emergency. But this measure did little to appease the anger of Coptic Christians against those in power, previously fervent supporters of President Sisi. For Mina Tabet, a specialist on minorities at a local NGO, the regime has not been able to keep its promise of security to Egyptians.
The terrorist attacks have been devastating Christian community. That has to stop, and it's not going to be stopped by speeches. It have to be acts.
In Port Said, Ikram and Moheb rely on the church to provide for their needs, rather than the state, which gave them the equivalent of €80 to cover all of their damages.
لسه موضوع الشغل ما اتحلش مش كده؟ لسه الشغل الخاص ما لا خلاص احنا هنشوف حكاية الشغل دي وربنا يسهل.
Like Ikram and Moheb, these displaced Christian families must struggle with a difficult new life.
I have no qualifications, no factory job, no steady employment. I only have casual work. I'm a daily laborer. For me, life has become extremely hard. I've been looking for a proper job, but I haven't found anything. We're young, and yet we already know what it is to be uprooted and displaced. What's next for the future generation?
Civil society engagement is the sole ray of hope in this dark picture, according to Father Beeman. He stresses that Muslims and Christians live side by side in Port Said.
Here in Port Said, Muslims and Christians are on good terms. Many Muslims call us to ask, what can we do? We want to give them something. Any needs we might have, such as jobs or otherwise, they reach out and help us the best they can.
By targeting Coptic families, the Islamic State group seeks to increase sectarian violence to destabilize the country. Pope Francis is visiting Egypt with a clear message, working to heal relations between Christians and Muslims.
Well, for more on this, we can cross now to our guest. Hugh Miles is an editor at the Arab Digest, and he joins us from Cairo. Hello, thank you very much for being with us. Picking up on that last sentence of the report, is there a need to mend relations between Christians and Muslims? Is it not just the jihadists that had a problem with this community's presence in Egypt?
Sorry, say again the question, please.
Is the problem that the jihadists want to target these Christians in Egypt, or is there a wider problem of a unity between the Muslims and Christians in Egypt?
Yeah, there's a long-standing problem for Christians in Egypt. They have suffered persecution for many years. It's never been easy for them as a minority in this mainly Muslim country, but things have got much worse in the last few months because Islamic State affiliates have named Christians as their main target, and they have begun systematically targeting them in a way that we haven't seen before. And so this has taken the problem to another level.
And when General al-Sisi was elected, it appeared that Egypt's revolutionary aspirations were somewhat sacrificed on the altar of security. The Coptic Christians largely chose to put that imperative first. Have the authorities succeeded in securing the country at all?
No, they haven't secured the country. The war goes on. The war in Sinai continues. It's very hard to know exactly what's happening in Sinai because there's a media blackout and there's no proper freedom of press in Egypt at the moment. But it's clear that soldiers continue to return in body bags almost every day. Atrocities continue. There's assassinations, beheadings, missiles are fired at Israel. No, the security situation remains poor.
And after the latest attacks, there was a sense that the authorities could do more to protect this particular community. Is there a lack of political will?
No, there is a political will. Sisi has spoken up on behalf of the Christians. He's said he's going to try and protect them. Of course, it's a very difficult, if not impossible job, because it's pretty easy to blow up churches and shoot people. The problem has been that the counterinsurgency campaign in Sinai has been really quite counterproductive. It's a very dirty war marked by human rights abuses, and so this has predictably made the problem even worse. So the security response seems to be backfiring.
And so in the midst of that, what can Pope Francis hope to achieve with this visit?
Well, I think this visit is significant symbolically, like just about everything the Pope does, and it is important on the international stage. It's good for President Sisi and his government. If the visit goes well, it will make him look like a statesman, and it will give him legitimacy. It's good for the Pope, I suppose, for his agenda, his proclaimed agenda of trying to make peace between Muslims and Christians. Is it going to make any difference? I don't think so, no. I don't think this is going to change anything on the ground. I think he'll come, he'll go, but I don't think anyone here in Egypt expects him to solve anything.
Would it not be within the Pope's remit to offer financial aid to help secure this community, for instance?
Well, the Pope's community in Egypt is pretty limited because, of course, most Egyptian Christians are Orthodox and they don't follow the Pope. The number of Catholics are fewer than 500,000 in Egypt. So I don't think there is much that the Pope can do, frankly, to change the situation on the ground. The roots of the problem here in Sinai are socio-economic, it's ideological, it's a very complicated problem. There are many groups. This persecution has been going on for a long time. So I really can't think how the Pope is going to make any meaningful difference to this problem in the long term.
Hugh Miles, thank you very much for having spoken to us there from Cairo. Thank you.